So tonight we're filming this talk because there's going to be this online Dharma conference someone contacted me about, and they're going to be putting up for like a week or a day, I don't know, I didn't really know how much time, a lot of talks, and you know, you give Dhamma and you get to log in and see these talks by different teachers, and the money goes to this cancer organization, Gilad or something like that. I don't know about it, but it sounds like a great idea, great initiative. So if you hear about this conference going on and you want to see some talks, sounds like really worthwhile on many levels. It will be. It's happening in November. I'll ask her, whoever's organizing it, who contacted me, to send the links or what the info to this group and Facebook page. So hopefully it'll work out. So I'm feeling camera shy. I wanted to talk tonight about inner peace. And kind of, it got me thinking. Last night at the meditation we had in Jerusalem, we have a group in Jerusalem on Sunday nights, and it's an old house that's shared with other groups. And there's like some sort of support group or something that happens at the same time, and they're like in a back room. And some of the people, there were a lot of people last night, I mean at the meditation, and some people, they start later, and some people think, well, this is their support group. If it's their first time, so they come and sit, and then they realize, this is not what I wanted, and then they get up and go. And it happened a few times. Now, getting up and sitting down, getting up and sitting down, and there's like this it's an old house in Tel-Aviv, right? And there's these old creaky doors. And I guess out of frustration, this is not my group, and they open the door and slam it. And it happened over and over again. Opening door, slamming it, opening door, slamming it. And I started to hear some of the, reactions, not in total silence, of people who were actually sitting there, just sitting like, like sitting there, and you're hearing people starting to get a little frustrated, even though they're sitting. Yeah. And someone asked during the talk, said, I think it was his first or second time, I didn't really know him, and he said, we're all kind of peaceful here, and then how can people be so inconsiderate? What is that about? What do we do about that? And don't they know? Well, first of all, I didn't really know what to say, except, well, they probably don't know. They probably don't know. But we know. We know. We know what it feels like to be irritated. We know what it feels like to start getting upset when your environment is, invaded, and your peace of mind is stolen from you by a slamming door. But whatever it may be, there's a our day-to-day, our daily peace of mind is very fragile. Very, very fragile. That's sad. Are we so, dependent? Are we so dependent on external conditions? Like to think we're adults. We want to think that we're mature. But like a kid, when the ice cream cone falls on the ground, we start crying. And we think it's like, I can never get it back. What's going to happen? Whatever your ice cream cone is. Boy, seems like there's a lot of work to do. There's an image from the Buddha's enlightenment story. You know, these mythical stories about when the Buddha became enlightened. And one of them is that in the last night before his enlightenment, he sat under this tree in Gaya in India, and this really poor little farming village, and there's this pipal tree, it's called, which is like this, now it's called a Bodhi tree, because Bodhi means awakening or enlightened, and he sat under it and became enlightened, so it's now known as the Bodhi tree, still there, or a descendant of it. And he was sitting under it, and the last passage he had to go through was characterized by this sort of evil force called Mara, who sent these different tests as a final kind of attack. And there was 3 different waves of attack on this night of the soul. You could say this dark night of the soul. And the first wave was he sent his beautiful daughters to try to seduce him. And that was characterizing like our sensual desires, you know. We have strong attractions and, you know, strong desires. And, you know, whether it's for the ice cream or for, you know, sex or for whatever it is, that's characterized by, you know, that attack by Mara. And great people fall. And they fall by what seems like, you know, the president had an affair. I mean, come on. Like, what went wrong there? Mara's daughters. There's Mara's daughters in the White House, right? Happens over and over again. Mara's daughters get everywhere, right? And the second one, the second wave, was where he sent his armies, like these strong military. And what was that? That wasn't sensual desire. That was fear and aversion. That was like, I gotta run away. It was fear, strong fear. And the image is that they shot all their arrows, millions of arrows, poison-tipped arrows, and when they reached the Buddha, they transformed into flowers. It's this beautiful image of all these thousands of flowers raining down, which a second before were, you know, sharp arrows. And that image I want to hold for a moment. And we face desire a lot in our lives, but we also face fear. And those arrows are happening in different forms all the time. All the time. It may be experienced as any type of aversion, discomfort, or fear that you have, the anxiety, the sadness. Anything you don't want that you think is going to harm you, or that you experience as harming you, is an arrow from Mara. How do we transform it into a flower? That's the real essence of our practice. You're not going to stop the arrows from being shot. All the slings of misfortune. How are we going to stop that? You know, there's another classic image of asking a question. Shantideva used it, you know, the world's like that. You can't cover it with leather, but you can cut 2 pieces and put it on your feet, and then you can navigate. You'll be okay. That protection is what's called the teachings, you know, the Dharma. Having a way to deal with misfortune, not by trying to stop it. Because the first noble truth that the Buddha taught is the truth of dukkha. Dukkha means, on one translation, suffering. Okay, but it's not always, you ask people, are you suffering? No, I'm okay. Most people are okay, they have their ups and downs. Right? But they're driven by a sense of lack. That, you know what, yeah, but if I really look at it, I'm not so satisfied. I don't have lasting content. I just, you know, I'm happy at times, but I always want more. You know, always want more. And it can be like wanting, you know, being really hungry. You eat your food. You know, it was really interesting. I was just in a monastic environment where they only had lunch, right? It was Theravada. They're nuts. They only have lunch, no dinner. And you're really hungry, right? And the food is wonderful. It was a Thai monastery, and there are these Thai families from the like surroundings that come and they cook food as like their dana. They just call it like dana when they just give food, and it's like, wow, this is the best Thai food I've ever had, better than any restaurant. And then by the end of the meal, I'm sick of it. I don't want to see this Thai food. Like, I don't want to see food till tomorrow, but tomorrow will come. You know, hunger, satisfaction, discomfort, aversion, hunger. When is it ever going to end? The arrows keep coming. And if it's not an arrow of hunger, it's an arrow of not wanting what I had. The very thing I wanted itself transformed into something I didn't want. So the want had nothing to do with the object. It had to do with my mind. Because the very object of desire can turn within a few minutes into an object of aversion. Same thing. Yeah. Wow. It's interesting to notice that. The very same object of your desire can transform into an object of aversion and disgust even. You know, you can do it as eating meditation is really interesting. I was trying to show my kids, I said to them, okay, look, start chewing this piece of chocolate or this piece of orange. Keep it in your mouth and notice what happens. Look at it. Where did the flavor go? What is it now? Do you like it? What is it? You know, are you still enjoying it? And they're like, it doesn't have any flavor. Like there's nothing to even talk about. You know? It's just like substance. These contemplations, these meditations of the moment are available to us all the time. And they're not just a mental game. It's not just a game we're doing. It's in order to liberate us from this constant cycle of want, don't want, want, don't want, want, don't want. How do I get off this treadmill of dukkha? Dukkha is the dissatisfaction that is driving. That's like a drive all the time pushing us to want more. Either you want more what you have that you like, or you don't want it, but it's the same dukkha. Aversion and attachment are the same dukkha. It's that force of dissatisfaction, either wanting or not wanting. Wow, what a pendulum we're on. How do we get off the treadmill? How do we transform those arrows, the slings and arrows of, you know, misfortune? How do we transform that into flowers? Well, first you notice it. You got to notice it. You got to notice the yo-yo mind. It's sometimes called the monkey mind in the old teachings, where like a monkey sees banana, reaches for it. Sees another something else, sees a vine, reaches for whatever. There's no pause. It's just like automatic. See it, want it. See it, want it. We break that connection between seeing and wanting through the power of awareness. By being aware and slowing down and noticing that there's an object, there's consciousness of the object, and there's desire, right? By slowing down the process, you can notice that it's not necessarily so. You don't have to want or not want that. You can observe it with what's called equanimity. I accept it as it is. And I accept that I have this pull as well, you know, or this rejection as well. That I have these habitual and conditioned reactions. I accept that in myself too. Okay? To observe it with equanimity doesn't mean that the desire, attachment, and aversion are gone. It means that's just part of what you're noticing. That's the package deal of this human condition right now. The conditioned state of dukkha. The first noble truth, that that's just the way life is. And the acceptance doesn't make it go away, but it lets go of the expectation that it should be different. Enlightenment will be, I don't know, an internal spa. No. It is what it is. I mean, you're going to get sick and old. Does that mean with the discomfort that that necessarily brings, you won't be able to have an awakened mind? If an awakened mind means only that it's going to be comfortable and easy, forget it, right? I mean, do something else with your time. But we're in for the long haul. That show said, winter is coming, you know, like old age, sickness, and death. You know? Guaranteed. How do we prepare now? How do we prepare now? Observe over and over again. You will have countless opportunities every day to notice the truth of dukkha, the truth of desire and aversion, reinforcing the dukkha, the truth of being able to step back, observe it, and let go of that, so that if you don't feed into that cycle, you know, you can get out of it. And then following the path, the Four Noble Truths. But basically, dukkha is just the way things are. The way things are is that there's constant change. What you're hoping for, you get and you lose over and over again. And that's just the nature of life. Accepting it is saying, okay, well, this is now what I'm going to work with. It can be a perfect environment. Like, you know, meal in a monastery. There's no, I mean, there are lots of, so we came last night and there's like slamming doors, you know. Over and over again. You can pause for a moment and consider your day. Consider a day in your life. A day in the life, you know. How many opportunities of truly observing dukkha did you have today? Dissatisfaction, aversion, anger, fear, desire, all these things that are pulling you and pushing you. Yo-yo mind. The yo-yo mind. Up, down. How much did that happen today? Now, you had a lot of opportunity. We want to remind ourselves, we don't want to chastise ourselves saying, God, what a wasted day, I didn't, you know, awaken from these. No. You say, the nature of life is that it's going to be repeatedly, as long as you're here, full of opportunities to observe dukkha with clarity and to receive it and accept it with some poise and dignity, what it means to be an aware and conscious human being. To no longer live pulled by my fears, my aversions, and my desires, but to observe these truths square on. That's what it means to have that, you know, posture. the posture, the inner posture. Outer posture, okay. But the inner posture, being able to fully stand and observe your life as it is, and not be lost in the ups and downs of expectations and failed expectations. And there is in the meditation hall in the center of this monastery. It was a monastery in the mountains in Switzerland, 360 degrees surrounded by like snowy mountains. It was jaw-droppingly beautiful, right? Just to be there is to, you know, feel like, oh, this is what it means to, you know, like, this is what it means to be alive, really. And the meditation hall had this wall of windows facing this mountain. Like, wow, what more do you need? Right? I'll spend all day there. But they covered it with curtains. Why would you do that? I mean, just let me sit and look at the mountain. Now, I don't think it was intentional. Maybe there's just too much light. Maybe it would damage the, you know, art and statues it had in there. But I was like, see that mountain? You know? I could just open, you know, curtains. I realized, you know, even when it's beautiful, I'm still running away. I'm still using it as an excuse to not look within. You know? It doesn't mean I shouldn't go out and enjoy the mountains. I did. Okay, I spent many fine hours walking meditation. But when I'm sitting, okay, there's when the Buddha was dying at the end of his life. So we started at the beginning of his life, and at the end of his life, I mean, the beginning of his teaching, he became enlightened, and then 45 years later, it's fast forward, and he's dying. And his cousin, Ananda, who was his, you know, main disciple, had a perfect memory and was able to remember every talk. They didn't have photographs, so you wouldn't say photographic memory. I don't know what you would say. He had a recorded memory, I don't know what. I mean, he wasn't looking at the text, he was hearing, he heard everything. So after he died, he was the one to recite everything and make sure that they were able to record it and know exactly what he said by verifying it with this human computer. So, so he asked the Buddha is on his deathbed, and he asked him, oh, please, can you offer the community anything, any last instructions? Like, what do we need to know that you haven't told us? And he said, Ananda, I haven't withheld anything from you. And he used this metaphor like a teacher with a closed fist still holding back something. You know, he wasn't being stingy. And he wasn't like some teachers thinking like, there are secret teachings that you just can't know. You know, like you have to go through some lifetimes of initiations. Maybe that's true for some, but the Buddha was kind of saying, no, that's not my style. Like, what you see is what you get. You understand it the way you can. And then he said, but Ananda, you have to be an island unto yourselves, and take the Dharma as that island unto yourselves. You can't depend on me. And that was a really amazing direction and teaching. There's another metaphor that Buddha gave of the raft, of carrying the raft across the river. And he said, you know, when you cross the river, what are you going to do with the raft, monks? Are you going to carry it on your head and start walking with it? And they're like, no, of course not. Okay, well, when these practices are no longer serving you, you don't, you know, continue with them. it's very easy to take teachings and practices as something that we just now saying, okay, I'm getting rid of. They're helping me with my attachments, but they're actually replacing our attachments. They're replacing our attachments. We're just like trading for some what seems justified attachments. Yeah, I'm very attached to teachings. You know, I'm a Buddhist. Like, it's what I do. You need another identity. There's, in the teachings, there's considered 4 types of vessels to receive the teachings, the clay vessels. One is the vessel, think of these old like clay vessels that hold, I don't know what, wine, oil, whatever, you know, you find them around Jerusalem. Clay vessel with a hole in it. Teachings go in, go out. Nothing retained, nothing felt, right? Most people, you know, try to remember just even what, like, read the newspaper and then think an hour later, do I remember like 3 different articles that I read? No. It's all like hold in and out. Then there's a vessel with a crack. The teachings fill, but then they, you know, it seems inspiring and everything. But a week later, it's gone. It still just all empties out, but it, you know, it takes slower, so you feel like you got something. But in the end, you're still just empty. The third vessel is the one filled with stale water. There's no room, because this person knows what's what, right? But it's full with old information of who you are. Right? That's the vessel filled with stale water. No room. You know, no room. Just old opinions. And finally, the fourth one is the vessel that is whole and empty. Okay? It's whole and empty. And that one can receive the teachings. So we want to be a good vessel. Being empty doesn't mean you don't have your body and mind and self. You can't be selfless if you don't have a self, right? So the good vessel is the one that doesn't have cracks, doesn't have holes, and isn't full of crap. But you've taken care of your vessel, but then you've let go of all the stale water. All these dogmas, beliefs, ideas, they may be part of this sort of temporary personality. But when are they a raft that you're carrying on your head when they're no longer serving you? But you're just doing it out of loyalty to, I don't know what, to an idea of who you are, rather than the reality of what this means right now. What vessel, what practice, what belief will best serve you and others in this moment? By really paying attention to this moment, we are better equipped to answer that question. By being lost in the thoughts of who we are and who we think others are, those vessels. Then we're going to respond to an idea and not to a reality. So meditation is a training to come back to reality. Wake up to this situation. You know, it's dynamic, it's changing, it's impermanent. Do you really know what's needed now? Or are you carrying an old raft? It's heavy. Let it down. Okay? Stop carrying the burden of your old ideas. There's this funny story of this Sufi named Nisargadain. Encountered it where he sent his student out to go get a bag of hot chilies. The student brought them back and he started eating them. And eating the hot chilies, and started, like, his eyes were watering, he was in so much pain, and the student said, "Stop already, what are you doing?" He said, I just keep hoping for a sweet one. And the Buddha said that indulging in our desires is like licking honey off a sharp knife. Yeah. It may work a few times, but for sure you're going to get cut. Okay, think of that image. Ow. You know, you're going to get cut. Dukkha is our support. Dukkha is our loyal friend. Dissatisfaction, pain, discomfort, sickness, and age, instead of being enemies, arrows, always threatening us. You know, how can we say, you know, this is now my path? This is my path. How can I walk it nobly? The Buddha called them the Four Noble Truths, because I want to engage them as a noble path of awakening to becoming a Buddha myself, an awakened being. Letting go of the struggle. The world is going to continue to be difficult. Do I always want to wage war against that difficulty? Or do I want to make a noble path out of it? I know it sounds all easy. Easy to say, isn't it? It's really easy to say. But the practice is moment by moment, dealing with the pain, observing it, accepting it, looking again and again, letting go of my ideas, and seeing them arise over and over. Caring enough to really pay attention. Generally, when we face difficulties, we have three reactions. Those reactions are, we run away to a distraction, right? I mean, whatever your distractions are. And it can be just like a small discomfort. You're bored on the bus. What do? Do you sit and breathe and look at the boredom and let your mind settle and open and observe around you? Or is your phone, like, without even knowing, in your face? You know, what are we doing? Why are we running away so much? Running away from what? It's okay to experience discomfort. Familiarize yourself with it. Make it your friend, not your enemy. It supports your awareness. There's no other way. Believe me, it's much easier to be aware with difficulty than it is with pleasure. When things are easy, we become complacent. When they're difficult, our awareness is heightened. The difficulty, the dukkha of life, supports our practice of awakening. That's why it's a truth and why it's noble. Don't run away. The other reaction we have is we blame, which is another way of running away. It's your fault. It's your fault. And the third reaction is we get depressed and upset and blame ourselves. Like it's my ego, it's me. Okay, we identify with it. Don't identify. Don't blame. And don't run away. So what does that leave? Noble presence. Okay, noble presence. I experienced this last week. Or a couple weeks ago, when I was here, I made the foolish choice of driving to Tel-Aviv. You were here, where were you? I usually get a ride in Yonatan. And then park the car where Yonatan parks it. I'm always with him, like on Ibn Gavriel at 7 p.m. It's supposed to be good parking. Parking, right? You're there now, aren't you? Great. But at the end of the evening, it's a great evening, lots of friendly people, la-di-da, walking out, feeling good, you know, Dharma warrior. Where's the car? Where's the car? I'm walking up and down. The car's not here. Where could it be? And I thought, well, there are two options, aren't there? There are two options. One, it was towed, and two, it was stolen. And you know what? In my heart, I actually hoped it was stolen. Because then I could blame someone else. Because if it were towed, it was my fault. I parked in the wrong place. Which, lo and behold, is what happened. And there's no running away. Riding is worth a lot of. Whatever happens to you, never happens to you. Yeah. I didn't even feel any relief when I found out where it was. It was just like, then it was like I had no excuse. It's like all my fault. Blame, blame, blame. There's always going to be something coming up every day. And the difficulties, as far as the mind go, we tend to remember much more strongly than the pleasures and the praise. There's this sort of research done about how many acts of praise it takes to compensate your sense of self for one criticism. It's like 7. You need to be praised 7 times to compensate for one criticism. Right? And you're usually not praised 7 times, are you? But the criticisms are always around the corner. So we walk around feeling like, bummer. Right? Mind. Where's it from? Where is it from? Are we a refuge to ourselves? Are we islands? What does it mean to be an island? There's this wonderful teacher named Ayakema. She was a German Jew who escaped in 1938 and went on to become a Sri Lankan Theravada nun. And she said to really love, you need to have emotional independence. One strange term, isn't that a strange term? Emotional independence. Don't usually think like if you love, you have like emotional, well, you don't want to say dependence, do you? But something. She said no, emotional independence. Because your love, if it's real, has nothing to do with the other person. It has nothing to do with the other person. The other person does not, in fact, deserve your love. Because if they deserve it, then they cannot deserve it. And that's conditional love. But if it's real love, it's a state of mind that you're cultivating. It's not about picking and choosing people according to how good they fit yourself. It's just global. It's unconditioned. Right? It's independent of your needs. That's what she meant. And that's the true refuge. When you no longer are dependent on outside conditions to find joy and happiness, to find the peace of mind that really is your birthright. Because you have a full sentient mind, same as the Buddha. The awakening is your nature. What's stopping us from realizing it is the illusion, or what the Buddha called delusion, that I'll be happier if. That's delusion. We need to be independent of the false dependency we create on external changing things. All the world and all life is a conditioned reality that is going to pass. Don't bet on it. Don't place your bets on shifting sands. So the last image I want to share was of at this monastery. Because it's Switzerland, there are these cows all over the place, like cows everywhere. And they're all free and happy cows, eating the grass wherever they go. But for some reason, maybe it's part of their tradition, I don't know what it is, But they put on these bells, these cowbells. They're like big cowbells, big heavy brass bells. And the cows are up, you know, to support a cow body, right? You pretty much, they eat grass. I mean, think about it. Big cow, diet of grass. How does it do that? Well, it's eating grass like 14 hours a day. You know? From like 5 in the morning until 7 at night. It's bobbing up and down. What does that mean if you're in a quiet monastery meditating? Bong, 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 all the time. Dozens of cows all over ringing these big bells. It sounds all nice and pastoral and kind of sound of music. It wasn't really music though. I mean, sound of cowbells in the mountains. Sounds really nice. Until it doesn't stop. It's like the Thai food. You know, it just doesn't stop. Shut up already. I mean, the cows, cowbells. I'm like, oh, come on. Is that such a hard thing to do with? I'll tell you, everybody at this monastery was dealing with the cowbells. It was like a constant topic. There's the one that's really active. Yeah, she's really active. You know, and we knew them by sight, and we were like, I hope she doesn't come by my room. You know, you'd wake up in the middle of the night and like, what are you doing up? I'm not talking to my neighbor. I'm talking to the cow. Why are you up? You know, and why are you getting me up? But that relationship of irritation was not inherent to the bell, to the cow, or to me. It was empty of any substance. It had no reality except the one that I created. And by seeing that process of creation, then I realized on some other small level, real small one that I need to practice a lot more to deepen, that I am responsible for my peace, and I am responsible for my lack. Not the bell, not the cow, not the place, but only I in my mind. And if I can fully accept that responsibility, I think that's what it means to be free. So before we finish with a minute of silence, is there anything anyone would like to share or say or ask before the end of the evening?
When we did the walking outside, I saw a bunch of people, and I had two reactions. First was, I'm not really looking at them, I'm just passing. There are people and I'm just walking. And then I realized I'm not seeing what's around me. And then I looked, and I was immediately drawn into the stories. Oh, she's wearing that, they're talking about this, like immediately outside of yourself. So I was trying to think, what is the middle ground? Like, what is being here but still seeing out, and like, where is the space that, you know, I want to be? It's a kind of a question of what is the meditation outside walking? And the second question I had, it's a little bit different, but maybe there is something in the base which is similar, is when you're doing something like art or craft and you're into it and you're focusing on the thing. Isn't this meditation because you're focusing instead of your breath on something? I'm not pretty sure.
Good. So, two things. When we're walking or practicing in any way, and we are you're having these thoughts, those thoughts are not part of your meditation. Those thoughts are part of your meditation. To think that to really have meditation, a meditative mind, is just to see things without judgments. Is to see things, to be aware of judgments, and to not have such a strong identification. You accept the judgments just part of the habits of your mind. This is what your mind does. We don't need to say, oh, me, I'm thinking. No, there's thinking going on. It's not even so technical enough saying there's thinking. It's not a clinical thing. It's more like you notice it, you notice the identification, you notice the discomfort, you notice the judgment, and you keep breathing. It doesn't have to be this sense of, well, now you're evaluating your meditation or yourself based on how much either you're judging or not judging. It's more like, oh, there's a lot of judging going on today. My mind is very judgmental today. You know? The state of your mind and what it's doing is part of our meditation. It's called mindfulness of mind. There are these different aspects of mindfulness. And one of them is just noticing, like, what your state of mind is. And if your mind is very in a thinking mode or a very judging mode, then that's also something that's just part of, we could say, part of our environment. You know? Look at your mind like you look at your environment. It's not something that you need to immediately say me or I, even though it seems like it's I. It's just a pattern that is coming from having done that a lot. You know? So what we think, if we're mindful, suddenly I'm not going to be judgmental. No, I'm going to be judgmental, and I hope I won't buy into it as much. Be judgmental, let it be, but don't grasp it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, are we doing meditation when we're doing activities that we're sort of very much single-pointed and concentrated on? That is mindfulness and concentration. Meditation is a little bit different, right? With any activity that you want to be focused on, you're using two parts of meditation, which is concentration and mindfulness. Those are important parts of meditation, but they don't summarize meditation. It's not all of meditation. With anything, with a sport, with business, whatever you want to do, if your mind is often distracted, you're not going to do it well. So being able to be really, concentrated, and then noticing when you're not concentrated and coming back, that's the essence of mindfulness, which we then use for like anything. Music, art, conversations, driving, hopefully. I mean, we're using that. Does that make it meditation? No. It doesn't make it meditation. Why? Because meditation is essentially about liberating the ego. And we can be involved in an art, and it can be a very egotistical thing, like, I want to achieve this because I want to be famous. So what's the intention behind the activity? If the intention is about opening your heart and letting go of yourself, then it's more meditation. But if it's about, like, I gotta finish this business deal, I gotta focus on this report, it's not really for liberation. It's still concentration and mindfulness, but it's not liberating concentration. It's not liberating mindfulness. What makes it liberating is the intention to be free of self-centeredness, to be free of desire. So that's what makes it like a real meditation path. But otherwise, these are techniques that, they're using it for sports teams and for management coaching and stuff. I wouldn't call that meditation. I'd call that successful techniques to work with your mind.
question as well.
Mm.
There is the part of the, I can come closer. That's,
Great.
there is a part of the mind and what we observe within ourselves and the phenomena as well. Like there are the phenomena we observe, and there is the mind, which is a phenomena like the rest. And also there is usually called the screen, where all the phenomena are projected on. And there is this part that observe the things, like where I pay my attention. Do I pay my attention on my mind, on the mind? Do I put my attention on whatever else? So my question is, what is this part of the attention part? Like, is it me? If it's me, so is there is self?
Hmm.
That's my question. So
Who's paying attention?
yeah.
That's basically the question. Who's paying attention?
Is it like another phenomena like the rest of the phenomena, or is it something more basic?
You can invest will, right? And you can direct your attention.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about who and you ask about self, when you look back at trying to identify it, it'll be really hard to say any qualities other than the fact that it's aware and has will. Is it, does this consciousness have glasses? Does it have a red shirt? Does this consciousness have like a family? Does this consciousness have, or do we then, in order to identify the self of the awareness, do we need to then kind of resort to sort of external things? But if you just look at the nature of the consciousness, there's really not much we can say about it other than it's aware and can be directed. Who's directing it? Well, then you start like getting into ideas that are not coming from the awareness itself. So it really has, what the Buddha called it was the unconditioned. So it really, it's this sort of stripping away. You're looking for yourself, and a way to realize non-self is to keep looking and basically exhaust every possibility. You go through a process of checking, maybe this is me, maybe this is it, maybe this is it, maybe this is it, until basically nothing's left. But that's also just another idea. So in Zen, they have these koans of like, what is Buddha, or things like that, and then they'll say, oh, like a pound of rice. They give these ridiculous answers, right? For us to go through all the answers we can come up with, what is Buddha, what is Buddha, what is Buddha, or what is mind? That's another one, like what is mind? What is mind? That's the same question. It's been asked for basically hundreds and hundreds of years. The question, what is mind? And the reason that's given as a sort of challenge from the teacher to the student is to say, okay, well, you can read the answers in a book, right? It's all there. But for you to have what's called like a liberating insight, you need to go through that. You need to find it yourself. So if you spend the next 10 years repeating to yourself, what is mind? Or who am I? Really? You'll come up with lots of good ideas. You'll come up with lots of good answers. And then the next day you'll realize it's different, But you won't be able to have a true realization unless you go through all of them. So, keep asking. Last question.
So I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for a while, And I noticed that in uncomfortable situations, or when something bad happens, like not really bad, but just something that I don't enjoy, I can put myself outside of the situation and kind of observe it from the outside, and it disconnects me in a good way. Like I feel good, and I don't mind about anything that happens. I appreciate it and I observe it, and it's okay. But when good stuff happens, like when I'm in a comfortable situation, in a place that I'm feeling really happy, or something like a good event, sometimes I feel like a bit unaware, like I'm not really there, and if I try to bring my awareness to my senses or to my thoughts or whatever, I just still kind of feel disconnected. Like I want to be more present, but I can't put myself in there. So,
Well, pleasure is numbing. It numbs the awareness. You know, makes us kind of satisfied. What to bring into your awareness of comfort is impermanence. Notice, pay attention to the change within your experience. Notice how comfort changes. You may become more comfortable, may become less. But no state is stable. Every state you will find yourself in is unstable and changing. We just may not be noticing the change because we kind of want it to last. So we're ignoring the change. Rather, instead of saying like I want to disconnect from the pleasure, no. Explore how pleasure changes. Explore how comfort changes. Investigate the change within the experience. It may be a nice change. You know, the sunset is getting even more beautiful. But still, instead of just being focused on the beauty, bring your awareness to the change aspect of it. And then we start to sharpen, you know, our minds into noticing not just comfort and discomfort, but the underlying truth of change.
thank you.
All right, time to go. All things pass. Except for the people still walking outside. But they'll pass too, it'll just take them longer. Anyway, I want to thank you for coming tonight and sharing the practice. It was most precious and valuable, and I deeply appreciate it. I hope you have a good week.